all know that Brighton doesn't have the fastest defenders. Dunk is probably one of the slowest defenders in EPL. So he probably thought, well, Rashford can catch him on the flank and do that. His guy Rasmus also, who is really fast. So that might have been the game plan for yesterday's game. But it's just one too many excuses that I don't want to give Coach Tenny anymore.
Yeah,
So,
Shaba, sorry, man. I was on another show a few minutes late. I was trying to get things situated. Thank you for coming on the show. Transit TV, welcome to Ready Football Show. Back again with my man Shaba. United, we know he has given Eddie Ten Hag a baptism. He refers to him as Coach Tenny. Shaba, welcome back to the channel. Richard, Shaba is a Man U fan. We're here today to look at the United game yesterday against Brighton. We already know the scores. United again lost, especially this time around. So much so that it was at Old Trafford. I know Shaba has a lot to help us unpack about that game today. And our viewers, like we always say, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It looks like a lot of our viewers get carried away enjoying the show and they forget to subscribe. Though we see the numbers are going up, we're still on our project 2,000 subscribers before the end of this month. The last 1 week, we've seen the numbers go up a lot. So shout out to our viewers, especially our viewers in Pakistan, Bangladesh, UK, Nigeria. The numbers are really going up in these countries, and we're happy that you're supporting our cause and what we're doing. And we'll continue to do our best to bring entertainment and insight of the games and the happenings in the game, the way you don't see it and you watch these games, and you will get all that in this channel. So we'll say thank you for supporting our cause. And guys, you are welcome to the show. Shaba, you're back again. Good to see you, bro.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I wish I was coming back under different circumstance, but we take the L and we move.
Richard, welcome back to the show. Good to have you, bro. Always good to have you.
Thank you, Reggie. Good evening, or good evening, viewers. Good evening, Justin. I don't think we've met, but good evening.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, we've not met. It's the first time together, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, just yesterday at home, United lost 3-1 to Brighton. It wasn't a huge surprise to many, though. For me, I don't know if you watched our pre-weekend, the games of the weekend preview. I was saying that I wouldn't count United out in this one because they tend to have a way of coming out on top of the games like this. But to not a surprise to many, they lost this one 1-3 against Brighton, and it wasn't just about the goal line, the goal score, the score line, but the manner at which Brighton took care of business in that game has been of a very huge disappointment to people who are connected to United. Talk us through your emotions, the general overview about that game, and we'll take it off from there.
So last time I was on the show, you had actually asked me a specific question about what I think is going to happen in the next 4 games. And I remember telling you that I had only looked as far as Brighton and Bayern, and I guaranteed two losses. But like you said, United has had a very solid home record in recent memory. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was about 20 games undefeated at home.
Yeah,
oh, 28 undefeated, which is no easy feat by any stretch of the imagination. So I thought that United would actually stand a chance. But then again, we're going up against a Brighton team that, despite the fact that they keep losing their top players, McAllister, Caicedo, and then the ones that they're losing to injuries, despite the fact that this keeps happening to them, it's already built into their DNA that they're just going to go out there. You can take our best players, but you cannot take away our identity. And our identity is we're going to attack you on the flanks, we're going to go after your shy defenders, and we're going to put the ball behind the net, right? So coming into that game, I had a lot of trepidation, and I had a very strong feeling that United was gonna lose the game. I just didn't think it was gonna be this bad. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. The 3-line scoreline did not actually reflect what happened in the game. Towards the end of the game, it could have been 4, 5. And Sufati had a sitter that Onana finally decided to make a save. So the 3-line scoreline was Brighton being very, very conservative with United yesterday.
Okay, Richard,
very sad.
Did you watch that game? What's the general thinking, about how, it all unfolded at Old Trafford yesterday afternoon?
Reggie, I don't know if you remember when we did our pre-season overview of the teams. I was very skeptical about you. Do you remember how skeptical I was about United? I'm not even slightly surprised. I mean, I didn't do the pre-game for this weekend, but I would have told you that Brighton would win the match. I'm not even slightly surprised. Or even if you look at the form guide, you're saying that United's home form has been good, but when you think about it, I think the last defeat was
Brighton.
It was the same Brighton now. Yes. So I'm not even slightly surprised. Justice, we had you were not in the pre-game, but we had this discussion and people were saying that United were contenders for top 4, and I was like, no, I don't even see it personally. And so like I said, I'm not surprised. I don't. If you look at their midfield, you're playing with people like Casemiro and Eriksen. That were very, very good players, but they're past their prime.
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering why people are surprised. You're playing against a Brighton team that I mean, all their players are like really, really young. The players that didn't play yesterday are people like March that were injured. They're not as young as some of the other people, but they are younger than, at least they're in their prime, exactly. as opposed to the Eriksens and the Casemiros of this world. So I'm not even slightly surprised. I'm not.
There's one other thing I wanted to ask you guys about United, and this has been happening for a few seasons now. This game, United started this game as had a very strong position, show for the first 10-15 minutes, maybe close to 20 minutes, and they probably would have got a goal. But all of a sudden, it all unraveled. And this has been United for some seasons now. They come in a game, they'll blow you away. Maybe it's probably coming cold first half, second half, they blow you away. You remember, Chioma, last season, United will always concede 1 or 2 goals, but somehow they will come back. Under Iole, it used to happen a lot. Yesterday, this happened again. I don't even have it. There's not even any assurance that even if United has scored in the first half, that they would have still won the game. The Brighton would have still come back and sweep them away. So what do you attribute this to, Shaba, as a United fan? What do you think is the problem that they can't sustain performance for 90 minutes?
It's very simple. I think this new coach, Coach Tenny, has failed to teach these players how to play through adversity. I once read a comment made by Arsenal goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale, and he goes, regardless of what's going on the field, if we're losing 1 down, if we're 1 down, we still say, and he used the F word, we still say, F it, we stick to the plan, right? The difference with that is, with that mentality and United mentality is, if United is trying to thread the needle and it's not working, the body language just falls off, right? The mentality falls off. And they now start trying to throw spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks. And that's where I blame the coach, because if you're losing 1-0, if you're losing 2-0, you stick to the game plan. And even if you end up losing, let it be an honorable loss. Let it not be a 7-0 against Liverpool. Let it not be a 6-3 against Man City. Let it not be a 4-0 against Brentford or Brighton, whoever it was that beat us that much. And United just needs to understand that it's not going to be gravy all the time. There's going to be times when you're going to go in there, you're going to have one-on-one in front of the goalie, and you're not going to be able to score the goal. You don't put your head down, slump your shoulders, and start walking around the field like Rashford does. No, you charge back. You go after the ball. You try and tread and track back and get the ball like Welbeck did. There was a point yesterday when I believe Welbeck had lost the ball and the United player had recovered and crossed the ball to Rashford. And while Rashford was waiting for that ball to settle down, Welbeck tracked back and picked the ball up. And you could just hear the groan from the fans. It's not good enough. Mind you, Richard, what you were saying that a lot of these players are past their prime. Rather, you were saying that a lot of the Brighton players are in their prime. Now, I do agree with you. But in a sense, I have to touch on that because quite a few of the Brighton players were rejected from other teams. Welbeck was rejected from Man U and Arsenal. Adam Lallana could not get any playing time with Liverpool because he was constantly, quote unquote, being injured. Tariq Lamptey was rejected by Chelsea because they said he was too small. These are the same guys. Mahmoud, I don't even know where that guy came from, but it's my understanding he cost zero.
Dortmund. He came from Dortmund.
There you go. And he cost zero to come to Brighton. These are the guys that when you total the Brighton squad, it costs what, 20, 30 million? That's less than what we paid for
Malaysia.
I agree with you. But you know the funny thing is, if you are citing people like Welbeck and Lallana, they're not actually Brighton regulars though. They played at the weekend because other people were unavailable. They were injured.
True.
So they're not, and those are people that are actually past their prime as well. As if the truth be told, Welbeck and Lallana in particular are probably past their prime. Lamptey is still a very young player. He's I think he's 23. If he's old, he's 23, and his issues are different. Is that he had a very bad injury, but he's always been a very, very good player. I mean, even Chelsea didn't want to let him go. It was just I think it was a function of his injury record and Brighton's
playing time as well. Exactly. I think that at that time they had a few players that were.
Yeah, I think that was the issue, was the playing time because he played right back.
He couldn't get
exactly. To sort of address the point you were making, Lallana, to reiterate it, Lallana and Welbeck are not regulars. They don't start as a general rule for Brighton. It was injuries. Ferguson, in I think Welbeck's case, Ferguson was injured, and in I can't remember who didn't. March was injured, so he didn't start.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, and they still had too much for United. You see, the other thing I want to say is that Ten Hag doesn't really understand the job he's taken on.
That's an understatement.
He doesn't because why I believe that I'm not a United fan. I don't care about Manchester United, but I respect their history. I'm an Arsenal fan, as Reggie knows. So Manchester United are the team that have given Arsenal the greatest headache in Premier League history. And I know that when in the history of Arsenal and Manchester United, when Alex Ferguson was coach, he would never have made Bruno Fernandes captain of Manchester United. That is true. It's a massive problem. Fernandes is not inspirational. Fernandes is a whiner. When things are bad, he will be moaning to ref.
Even when things are good, he does the same thing.
That's not how a captain is supposed to be. It's a problem, and I'm wondering if you're a coach and you look at somebody like Fernandes and make him captain. That's a fundamental problem.
And you're talking about standards and work ethic.
That's a fundamental problem. To me,
Okay,
not
Richard,
what,
I think I hear you on that. That takes me to the next place I was going to ask you guys. When Ten Hag took over United, the talk was that he was going to come with this player from back, bringing back, exciting football into United. And we saw in some of the recruitments he was trying to make look like that was what was going to go on. And of course, this season he brought in Onana to buttress that point. But having watched United against Brighton yesterday, against Arsenal last week, it looks like his strategy is sit back, soak the pressure, and hit these teams on a counter. I see this as a disparity from what he was preaching and what the fans were told when Ten Hag was hired. Chaba, do you think that United have the player? Probably one of the problems could be that the player that United are signing are not made for this kind of approach. And that's why they're finding it difficult to probably do bits in games.
So I don't necessarily think, I mean, of course, at some point, the blame will rest on the player's shoulders, because what a coach can do is he will tell you his playbook, he will give you his strategies, and then he puts you out on the field. And not every player will follow the instructions of the coach. But when you see consistency week in and week out, and then outside that, you start to see some personnel changes with the coach himself, some substitutions that are just not making any sense, then you now have to ask yourself what's really going on. With regards to your point that you're saying that he wanted to play exciting football, I agree. I feel that him going after De Jong, whom we know is one of the best midfielders in the world, right? De Jong can, from the corner flag, pick out a pass and hit the opposite corner flag. He's just that good. So you can tell that what Ten Hag wanted to do was get a player that can sit deep but still distribute those long passes. And that's what Amrabat does. Unfortunately, Amrabat was ruled out for yesterday's game because of injury. But that's what Onana does. But then unfortunately also, if you watched yesterday's game, Onana kept ballooning the ball out from his box. Multiple times he tried a long pass. I don't think it came off once. Jason Steele, on the other hand, was confident and calm in his box, and he was able to give those short passes. I don't think Onana did that. And I have to ask myself, is it because Onana wasn't capable of doing it? Or is it because Ten Hag decided to tweak his system and tell Onana to do something else? You know, we all know that Brighton doesn't have the fastest defenders. Dunk is probably one of the slowest defenders in EPL. So he probably thought, well, Rashford can catch him on the flank and do that. His guy, Rasmus, also, who is really fast. So that might have been the game plan for yesterday's game. But it's just one too many excuses that I don't want to give Coach Tenny anymore. So yeah. I don't think it's an issue of the players. I think it's an issue of the coach.
Yeah, Richard, I hear what Justice is saying there. I remember in the beginning of the season, Chelsea fan Chioma came on this show when we were doing like preview for the weekend. I don't know if you were on that show, Richard. And Chioma was saying that, like Justice said last week as well, that Onana is not good for the team that United has. That he could see that most times when he has the ball to feed, he's almost practically telling the United players to open up to get the pass. And they seem not to understand, not to be in rhythm with what he's thinking. So do you think that could be one of the reasons why what Justice is saying about him misplacing passes, long way passes, maybe the players are not so that we takes us back to what I was saying earlier on, that it looks like Ten Hag hired, signed different players and he's deploying a different approach when the game days come. Richard, how do United resolve this conflict?
Well, how they can resolve the conflict is for Onana to be playing the way he was signed to play. I mean, at least if he was signed, the advert was that he was wonderful with the ball at his feet and that he could play long range passes in the way that somebody like Edison, for example, is playing, and it hasn't happened. Even the match last week, to take you back to the match before the international break, the Arsenal match. He was just kicking the ball and hoping that it would land at the feet of a Manchester United player, and it wasn't happening.
Exactly.
The same thing happened in this Brighton match. So I'm wondering what some of his short passing was intelligent and innovative, but his long range passing is abysmal. It's Reggie, you've had this complaint about Ramsdale. I know we're not talking about Arsenal now, but it's very similar in that his long range passing is a bit hit and hope. Since he's been playing for United, I haven't seen evidence that his long range passing is accurate, that he can actually be that sweeper keeper. Yes, he will sit on the halfway line and behave like the so-called sweeper keeper, but his distribution is not accurate. It's not effective. His long range distribution since he joined United has not been convincing.
I agree.
That's my take.
Okay, Justin, let me ask you this question. There's something again I noticed about this United. Rashford is a key player for United. Last season, he was the jewel of the team. He made it, dug United out of so many holes last season, and he was flying. This season, it looks like it's different. And for me, looking from outside, I know you're a United fan. You probably belong to a lot of United groups and get information that we don't get as rival fans. He seems unhappy on the pitch. Am I correct with this assertion? And what do you think is behind this feeling, this emotional negative feeling when you see Rashford on the pitch?
You're 100% accurate. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5. Rashford has not connected to the Rashford of last season, right? Even last season, in the beginning of last season, he had this same behavior, but he gave an interview and he said he was ready to quit United last season before he signed a new contract. So for him to sign a new contract, that means the coach must have come to him and convinced him one way or the other, either with the project or with more money or whatever be the case. The coach must have convinced him to say, look, commit your future to United. And Rashford is, 24, 25? So we're looking at him being with United for the foreseeable future up until he's close to 30. But you can tell that young man is not enjoying playing for United. And it's not just him. You can see with the way Bruno's bickering with his players, he's not enjoying playing for United. You can see with the way Eriksen is also dropping his shoulders and not tracking back to get the ball. He's not enjoying playing football. And I think it all boils down to results. As a professional, your goal is to go out there and play beautiful football and produce results that actually favor you. When you go out there and you feel that you're doing what you're being told to do, but then you're losing, and you're not losing to the stellar Liverpools, you're not losing to the stellar Man Cities, you're losing to Brighton. You're struggling against Nottingham Forest. You're struggling against Wolves. It's very, very demoralizing. It's very demoralizing. If you notice, a lot of Rashford plays excellent football for the first 10, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If Rashford's highlights were just 10, 15 minutes of every game, Rashford will win there you go. He'll win the Ballon d'Or all year long, right? But then after that, he tries a few tricks. Some comes off, some doesn't come off. He tries to score. Sometimes he's fortunate, sometimes he's unfortunate. But then his shoulder drops. He starts walking around. He starts dropping his head. And it's almost like he's looking to pass the blame onto someone else. Also, there's something about signing a new contract. I believe we've talked about this in our other forums. Typically, when a player signs a new contract at an exorbitant amount of money, I don't know what it is. In my opinion, it tends to drop their levels, right? Rashford signed a new hefty contract. I think he's the highest paid Man U player right now, but he's not delivering. He's not delivering. He was very selfish yesterday. He could have teed up Rasmus multiple times for sitters, but he chose to go alone on his weaker left foot. So I don't know. There's just not very good chemistry with the team right now, and it seems like it's affecting the morale of the team.
Ogum, let's touch base with you. As a rival fan looking in from outside on United, what do you think has gone wrong for them? Do you think last season's quote unquote success for the team was kind of not didn't really show the performance, or is there anything that is really different from the team this season? What has Ten Hag done differently that has made United look this horrible? And it doesn't look like this is going to end anytime soon. I remember the last week when Justice came to this show, he said it that United will lose this Brighton game and they're going to lose against Bayern. And he didn't want to look beyond these two games to predict what the results were going to be. So what has brought United to this point where is almost hopeless for a United fan this time?
I'll put it down, first of all, to boardroom inefficiencies, especially as far as recruitment is concerned. I think United's recruitment has been abysmal. And the reason for that, I think it's they've been investing in the wrong players, essentially because there's no one to forge a direction for the club to follow as far as football terms is concerned. They had a man that would have done this job for United excellently well. Immediately they called that man called Ralph Rangnick and hired him. I was immediately scared as a rival fan because that man was a brilliant student of the game that knew the game inside out. But then again, he got hired by the club. What happened? They asked him to coach. You hired a man that was going to help you direct your football operation, right? He's a director of football. He had the ideas. He immediately said, hey, we need to buy this, we need to buy this, we need to buy this. The next thing they did was convert him to a coach and give him coaching deliverables. Well, he was trying to make things happen. Bad results came in. The next thing was they sacrificed him, right? The people that hired him needed to just move that man upstairs.
Back to
get a coach. Get a proper coach. Let the man work with the coach and forge the direction of the football club for the next 5 to 10 years. That man had everything intact to help United. The moment they got rid of him, that's when I knew there was something. It'd be like saying they swear for them. Sorry, but those that don't understand the Nigerian parlance, there was a curse placed somewhere in the mind of someone that makes decisions at United that's bound to always sabotage the club because the club has everything to make it the superpower that it was in the past. In fact, I just watched the highlights of United game against City. 6-7 years ago, they had Berbatov, they had Paul Scholes, they had Michael Carrick, they had Ferdinand. I would say more than 6 years. The way these guys were moving the ball on the play against likes of Balotelli and the rest of them playing for City.
Yeah,
United were pushing the ball, moving the ball over the place, dragging City all over the place. Exciting football, right? So, yeah. So now you go and spend 100 million on someone like Anthony without a clear plan. Meanwhile, before then, you had spent almost another 100 million on Sancho, the same wing. You buy two players averaging almost 200 million for the same position in the team without a clear plan. You bring in, a center forward again over the summer. I saw United fans hype Onana. Onana again isn't among the first 5 keepers in the world. You forget all the passing and all that. He's an excellent passer of the ball and all that. But when it comes to keeping your goal, securing your goal from goals, Onana is not the person you call. You got rid of the man that had been player of the year several seasons, that knew the first job was to keep the goal
stop the
safe.
ball from going to the net.
Yes, they got rid of him, and then they hyped Onana that was supposed to become the new midfielder. I don't know a club, again, I've watched football for tons of years. I don't know a club that the goalkeeper is their strategy for winning the league. Yes, a goalkeeper should be your strategy for securing your goal and making your decision, but not for starting attacks, not for dictating your play. Your keeper cannot be the dictator of your play. So now hyped him and brought him in. They brought in a beautiful center forward. I watched that young man yesterday, Højlund, creating spaces, making runs, busting his guts to get to the end of crosses. Rashford will control the ball, dribble first one, dribble second one, get to the byline, you've killed the defender. Lay the ball up for your center forward to score goals. He took a shot.
Very selfish. Very selfish.
So you see that there's no direction. They need to, So the squad is full of square pegs being shoehorned into round holes, and there's no clear strategy. That's the problem.
Yeah, Richard, I see your hand up. You want to add something to this?
Yeah, I just want to basically, I agree entirely with Ugum. It's funny when you think about it. Manchester United. I want to sort of reiterate what Ugum was saying about the recruitment. It has been really bad. Manchester United are the only team in the Premier League with 4 80 million pound players. They're the only team. They have Maguire, the much maligned Harry Maguire.
3 or 4 years ago, not even recently.
Is an 80 million pound player. Unbelievable as it sounds, he's an 80 million pound player. Anthony, the person that I maligned on this, remember 3 weeks ago, I told you, I said on this show that he looks like a gang member. I think I've now been.
I think you said that.
I said it.
I kind of did as if I didn't hear when you said
but
it.
I said it. I said it. Look what has happened now. Sancho is an 80 million pound player. This Højlund, we don't know how he will turn out. He's basically an 80 million pound player. Even Manchester City, that they are claiming are doing all sorts of financial fair play machinations, don't have that many 80 million pound players. So yeah, I just want to basically, I agree with Ugum. Their recruitment has been abysmal. It's been so bad. And ever since I was a child, Manchester United, Manchester United are England's club. They're like the equivalent of Real Madrid in Spain and Bayern Munich in Germany.
Yeah.
Historically, what they do is they always get the best English players and they're ready to pay top dollar. Now, it's almost like they don't even know what they're doing. They don't even go for top dollar English players. They just they play top dollar for substandard foreign players.
No, former coach tennis players, if in the words of Shaba.
Exactly. Or in the case of people like Maguire, substandard English players.
So what's the way forward? If I ask you guys, what's the way forward for United? Because I know as a rival fan, somehow we're happy because it gives our team a chance to go up the table or probably win the league or whatever. But this is not good for English football. This is a giant of English football we're talking about here. And from our conversation here, it looks like there is no hope in sight for United. Now, Ten Hag just came in last season. He's the sixth coach in 8 years or something like that for United. And I don't think they're going to get rid of him that quick. Even if they do, it's going to cost a lot of money. And they do bring another coach. Probably the coach system might not work with this current player. So how does United get out of this mess that they have found themselves in and start to put points on the board?
Even if they don't, it doesn't matter. Giants sleep. For example, no, it's true. Manchester City have been relegated. Even Manchester United, in my lifetime, Manchester United have played in the lower division. They've played in the lower division.
So I don't think that's gonna happen though. But okay.
so Justice, what's the way forward? What's the way out of this mess?
Very simple. We just need to start winning games, and I think the only way that's going to happen is if the coach finally realizes that his method of coaching is not working out. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So he has to change his ways. He has to find a way to connect to those boys. Those boys, they're there to play football. Everybody, I can't imagine that there is any top player in this world that would sign on the dotted line to play for Manchester United. After signing, will now decide, I don't want to play. So they're there to play for the team, right? All you have to do is you have to find out how you can connect to this team, connect to this boy, so they can bring out the quality in them. Every single player, let me remind you, every single player on Manchester United squad yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, is an international player in the sense that they represented their country. So these are the top of the players in their
top drawer
countries.
players, yeah.
There you go. So these guys can actually produce. There's no reason why they should be producing. Scott McTominay scored what, 2 goals over the international break? Bruno Fernandes scored. Eriksen scored. I believe Rasmus scored. So why are we still struggling when it comes to club level? Ten Hag has made the bold decisions. He has gotten rid of Ronaldo. He has dropped Maguire as a captain. Those are top, bold decisions, and he has made them. So why can't he figure out how to unlock these players? Luckily, after Bayern, I believe we have Crystal Palace. I'm not saying it's going to be a guaranteed W, but I'm just saying it's going to be an easier route to a win. And hopefully,
it's
inshallah,
an away match. Justice.
It doesn't matter.
It's an away match. It's an away match.
It doesn't matter. Everybody struggles at Selhurst Park is not an easy place to go.
What I'm saying is this: I would rather play Crystal Palace than play Liverpool. That's all I'm saying.
God will spare our lives to see how Manchester United do at Selhurst Park.
Okay, we'll talk so much about United. Let's do some service to Brighton. Let's talk about Brighton. Let's talk about this team. This team, I remember last season when City was going to play Brighton, Pep heaped a lot of praises on this team, talked about how they soak teams in. They have a goalkeeper that is very comfortable, talking about Nana and ball to feet, knew how to drag opponents to himself and open up, spaces for his team to play. Well, this is a team that has, improved in pressing. This is a team that they came in yesterday. I think their strategy was to wear United out with their short passes and presses and then open them up and score, which they succeeded in doing yesterday. What have you made about Brighton, Justice? What can you say about what do you wish United had, as against Brighton?
The DNA.
Their coach.
Well, so to be frank with you, right? I see De Zerbi as another Ten Hag, in the sense that it's the truth. And the reason why I say this is De Zerbi strikes me as a coach that his word is law. And that's the same way Ten Hag strikes me as a coach that his word is law. But up until Man City started becoming uber successful under Pep, if you see the way Pep treated his players, right? These guys are going off, Pep goes and gives them a big hug, right? The same thing with Klopp. It's just recently now that Pep you now see interviews where Pep is actually talking down to his players and telling them, look, I'm the coach. One day you'll be the coach, but for right now, listen to me. I don't believe Pep walked into Man City with that mentality, right? So I don't think De Zerbi coming to Man U is really going to change anything, because it's all about the attitude. What I do know is this: under Graham Potter, under De Zerbi, Brighton is playing the same exact football. So it just tells you it's already instilled in them. There's a culture at Brighton that is team first. United, Rashford is busy buying Rolls-Royce Corner or whatever that expensive vehicle is. Wan-Bissaka and Sancho, they are going off to party in New York City. I don't know what the situation is, but there's a culture in United that is completely different from that of Brighton. And it might be the pay. It might be the pay, because when my teammate is earning almost 10 times what I'm earning, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. I can't imagine any Brighton player is earning a substantial amount to where the disparity is that much. Mm-hmm. So there's just something about Brighton's culture that is making them play the exact same football, which is beautiful football, regardless of the coach. United needs to adopt that.
Richard, you have anything to add to that? What can you say about United? I mean, Brighton, sorry.
I don't think they play exactly the same way. De Zerbi is a more sophisticated coach than Potter. And you see, even when he was at where was he? Sassuolo, that Italian team.
Mm-hmm.
Before he left Sassuolo and went to I think it was Zenit. Was it Zenit, right? Yes, and the football they play. He's a much more sophisticated coach than Potter. Potter. They hired Potter from that Swedish team that beat Arsenal in the Europa League. Do you remember Reggie?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember their name now. Yeah. You're right. Yeah,
you remember?
Mm-hmm.
And their football was not that sophisticated. It wasn't. It was all right, but they were possession based. But De Zerbi has taken it to a whole new level. So I don't even agree that they play the same football, the same type of football. It's similar, but it's a couple of levels higher.
So what did he bring in? What's different? How has Brighton improved? How did they up the gear?
Do you also realize, people don't know this, do you know that De Zerbi and Pep Guardiola are very close?
Yeah, I think I've heard that De Zerbi...
They're very, very close.
Even Ten Hag.
Ten Hag coached with
under Pep,
if I'm not mistaken.
Ten Hag was his boy, so they're not the same. Guardiola was Ten Hag's boss.
Yes.
So De Zerbi was never subservient to Guardiola. Guardiola looks at De Zerbi as a younger coach, but an equal. I understand that when Brighton approached De Zerbi, the first person he called was Guardiola to ask, should I take the job? And Guardiola said, yeah, that you can actually have an impact on this team. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that De Zerbi is not somebody that, he's not a newbie. It wasn't lucky. It's all part of.
He came with something. There was clarity in his head. You know, he knows what he was bringing. He knew what he was bringing to the team, and he's implemented it. Yeah,
exactly.
Richard, even if I disagree with you or anything, one thing I know that he has brought to Brighton that I used to talk about them last season was Brighton will tear you apart, open you up, but they will never take their chances. They will end up just like what Bournemouth did with Chelsea today. They will open you up, but they will not take their chances. But this in some part of last season and this season, Brighton have turned to a team that if they have the chance, if they have 5, they will take 3. You know, that's one thing. I've not really looked at the details like that, but one thing I know that Brighton has improved on is that they take their chances. And I think we have done justice to this one. We only hope. I don't know how United are going to get out of this one. To be honest, is deep, because just like Justice said, the culture in the place is rotten, and not just with the players. As an institution, everything about United right now just stinks. And I don't know. I think he's having difficulty trying to harmonize. And I think as a coach, he should focus, just like you said, Justice. He should focus more on getting things done on the field. You should forget about what the noise outside. Shut the team out of the outside. Create a siege mentality within the minds of the players. Let them know that you're there for them. Don't look at those players as you came to weed the bad eggs out. No, if we are the window is short, so the season is on, that nobody is leaving, nobody is coming in. Gather this squad together and let them understand that, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here for us to get something done. But it looks like there's he's looking in one direction. There are some players that don't feel that he's there for them, and he brings us back to Ten Hag. He stops on his desk. he has to find a way to harmonize this team and start them putting, help them start putting points on the table. Because in the next 2-3 games on the league, if United don't win, maybe the next 5 games, win 2 or 3, is going to really be a very, very, very long and difficult season for United and their fans. And did you have anything to add before we?
Yeah, I was gonna say when you look at the players that he succeeded with at Ajax, right? You see players like Sebastian Haller that struggled at West Ham. You see players like Daley Blind that United got rid of. You see players like Dusan Tadic that couldn't get his game going at Southampton.
Even the one that is there now, what's his name? Danny van der Beek. I think he was in Ajax as well.
There you go. A lot of the players that he coached at Ajax were either vulnerable players, and when I say vulnerable, I mean these players were struggling to get their careers back on track, or they were really no-name players, right? In the likes of Anthony. Ten Hag went and bought Anthony from a smaller team. I don't remember the team, but he hadn't made a name for himself before he came to Ajax. Van der Beek, the same thing. Delete, the same thing. These players all made their names at Ajax. Now, even Onana, right? Everyone talks about how Onana played Champions League final and yada, yada, yada. But let's call a spade a spade. Almost all his players that have left Ajax, except for De Jong, almost all of them have struggled. Delete didn't perform excellently at Juventus, which is why he was sold to Bayern. Mm-hmm. And now he can't even get any game time at Bayern. Van der Beek came to Man U and his career stalled. Daley Blind has gone to Bayern, and I don't even know if he's even playing there anymore, if he's just sitting on the bench and collecting a free salary every month. So he didn't really coach. I'm sorry?
The same thing happened with Gravenberch now.
There you go.
Now he's in Liverpool.
Now he's in Liverpool. So he hasn't coached any player that was an elite player when he walked into the club, which is why I said that I feel him and De Zerbi are the same thing, because when you're coaching a bunch of young names that want to make their name, a bunch of young players that want to make them, they will do anything you tell them. You tell them to jump up, and they'll stay up until you tell them to jump back down, right? But when you come to Man U, you're looking at Rashford, whom has been performing before you came. You're looking at Martial, who, except for the injuries, has been a top performer for Man U, except for the injuries. He might not have been scoring goals, but he was playing his position effectively, right? You look at even Maguire. Maguire was a world record, if I'm not mistaken, up until just this season with Gavidor for Man City. Maguire was a world record defender. So
he still costs more than Guardiola.
Really?
Today. Yes, now.
I was actually under the assumption
I think it was 76 million.
Guardiola was 77 million.
77, yeah, I know he was 70 something there. Guardiola, he was when he converted to euros. That's when he goes to like.
Okay. So Maguire is still the world record defender. So that's why I say that he can't bring that mentality that he used at Ajax and bring it to Man U. You have to change it. You have to evolve. You have to understand that the set of players and the type of players I coached then are different from these players right now. Honestly, at this point, I can do the same thing Ten Hag is doing. Ten Hag is losing. I can get on the field and tell the guys to go play.
I just lose. I get paid.
So he has to do better. He has to do better.
I hear you, man. I think you're right. Something has to change. And to be honest, I remember one time on this show as well, Richard, I don't know if you were here that day. I was saying that Maguire, I don't think he's as bad as they make him look now, because he's been in United. Nobody has been talking about Maguire this seriously until last season. So probably, and I also read somewhere where they said during there was one time under Ole's time during the pandemic or something like that, United was going through a patch. He was one of the very, very notable, figures on the background that rallied the troops and brought United back to where they're supposed to be. So it's also possible that the players are voting in his favor. You know, Ten Hag would have waited to get rid of Maguire before stripping him of the captain's armband. I don't think there's anything wrong with the captain sitting on the bench if the assistant is playing. So why would you see have him
with Newcastle?
Exactly. Why would you have him on the team and strip him of the captain armband? He didn't have any disciplinary issue. Nothing happened. Just because you feel that he's not good enough to play, to be on the pitch, he did that. And I always believe that players have loyalties in the squad. There are going to be English players that are loyal to Maguire, that like him. They meet him in the international assignment. So these things probably have brought a discord within the team. So I think Ten Hag needs to find a way to harmonize this team and get them firing in the right direction. Guys, sorry?
I agree with you, because no matter how you look at it, like I keep saying, I'm not a United fan, but how on earth is Bruno Fernandes a better captain than Harry Maguire? Even if a club captain, even if Harry Maguire is not playing in the first team,
11,
aren't you better off having him as a club captain, and then whatever you want to do, you know, where whoever's playing can be captain? But I agree with you. Why would you strip him of the captaincy? What has he done to deserve?
Exactly. It wasn't a disciplinary issue. If he was
it's a
like
humiliation.
Exactly. And if he had sold him and changed your captain, everybody would understand that. But the guy is still in the team. And you went and had a meeting with him and told him you're going to be your 5th choice. You didn't even give him 11 playing. Okay, come if you want to stay 5th position. He said, no, I have this ahead of you in the squad. But if you want to stay, you can go ahead and stay. That's not a good way to treat a man that has fought for the team. And this guy was there before you came. So it looks like some of the players have down tools in favor of Maguire, and this is also has been part of Jete history recently. So if you want to do that, you probably might have to get rid of all the players that you made there to be able to start a new way. If you have these players there and you're doing this, that's what you're going to get. And there's no solution in sight for United now, because the transfer window is closed, is short. We're going to wait until next season for
January.
Anything to January, exactly. And God help United, between now and then, he should have played 18 league games. You can imagine United lose 10 of those games. What will happen? They will turn to Chelsea that couldn't put together 10 wins in a season. And we know where that always ends the team up. Thank you guys for coming to the show. I've had fun today as usual with you, Justice. Anytime you show up here is always fun.
It's a party.
Richard, yeah, I know. Richard, thank you for being reliable and showing up. Like I said, our viewer, don't forget to subscribe. We know you guys are doing bits. We have had some very contentious conversations today about United. If you disagree with what we have discussed, any of us have said, get busy in the comment section and let us know what you feel. Subscribe and share this content and stay with us. We'll be doing the Champions League preview for this week. By tomorrow, that video will be dropping. Richard will be here. Justice, if he has time, will join us as well. Chioma will all come and look at the English teams in the Champions League this season. With the all half games this week, and Arsenal 6 years absent from the Champions League, back with at home to PSV. So we'll be previewing those games, and the video will be dropping tomorrow on the channel. Thank you for coming on the show, guys, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.